Hey guys, it's Ed. Welcome back to, well, definitely not my kitchen today, because today we're in Paris. Yes, I am back in Paris. I'm here for work. I'm here for the World Restaurant Awards. But I couldn't come to one of my favourite cities without hunting down something sweet. But today I think we're going to do something a little bit different. I think we're going to hunt down some cookies. Yeah, cookies in France.
Say what?
Now, when you think of France, you might not think of cookies, especially not American-style cookies, and that's fair. The French might know how to make a great sablé, but a chocolate chip cookie, well, maybe not. But thankfully, this little hole-in-the-wall spot in the 11th arrondissement is changing that in a big way. Now, the cookie these guys make is not your classic chocolate chip cookie. They use ingredients like buckwheat and miso and sesame to make something that's altogether more sophisticated but just as Moorish as the original. I think we should go back to the kitchen and try and make a cookie that's inspired by what they do. So to recreate that cookie from Mokonuts in Paris, we need to find a base recipe to start with. Now, a little quick Google shows that there is no Mokonuts recipe officially, but there is a recipe inspired by the one and only Dory Greenspan. So we're going to use that as the base today and then play around with it. Because the flavors that I want to put in my cookie are quite different and texturally quite different, we will have to change it quite a bit, but it's a good starting point. So, what we're going to do is make a tahini chocolate cookie, and that means we're going to replace some of the butter with tahini. So this tahini is really beautiful, it's absolutely delicious stuff, and it has a ton of flavor. Now, if you've never used tahini before, you don't know what it is, basically you can think of it as a kind of similar product to peanut butter. It's made in a similar way. You take the sesame seeds and you grind it into that thin paste. All the fat comes out and you get this delicious kind of nutty sesame seed paste. And it has a similar kind of flavor. It's very nutty, has a really nice, delicious kind of roasted flavor, and it goes amazingly well in sweet things, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. So to make the cookie is really simple. We're gonna add some butter, and then obviously we're gonna add some tahini. So just make sure you give the jar a bit of a stir to make sure any separated part has come back together. Then I'm just gonna pour that in. And then to that we're going to add some light brown muscovado sugar. It's going to add a really nice caramel note to the recipe. Then the final thing we're going to add is just a little bit of vanilla bean paste. And then we're going to beat that on the mixer for about 5 minutes until it's really nice and light and fluffy. Then we can add the egg and the egg yolk. Now let's talk about our dry goods. So taking a note from the bakery, we're going to do a kind of multi-grain style cookie. So we have some rye flour, which I think goes just amazingly with chocolate, and then some whole wheat flour as well, and of course the usuals, baking powder, baking soda, and some salt. So we're just going to mix those together and then add that to our butter mixture. So finally we're going to add our bowl of chocolate to the mixer. And then just turn it on briefly until everything is evenly distributed. At this point we're going to scoop the dough into a bowl, cover it in cling film and refrigerate it for about 4 hours, but I normally just throw it in the fridge overnight until it's nice and firm. So once the dough is nice and chilled and nice and firm, we can form that into cookies. Now the recipe makes 15, so you can either just use a cookie scoop, although the dough is a little firm, so it'll be a little tough going. My preference is actually just to use a spoon to form it into pieces, weigh it so it weighs about 60 grams per cookie, and then roll it into balls and place it onto our baking tray. Now, the added extra for this recipe is delicious sesame seeds. We're going to coat the outside of the cookies in sesame seeds. So all we're going to do is take a ball of cookie and then just kind of roll it around in your hand adding bits of sesame seeds. We don't want to fully coat it, we just want a nice even coating all the way around the outside. Now, a good idea is to do this in a big bowl, purely because these sesame seeds have a tendency to go everywhere. So if you do it in a big deep bowl and kind of hold the cookie in that, it'll just help a little bit. So once the cookie is nicely coated in the sesame seeds, we can pop that onto our baking tray. We're going to set those about 1 inch or 2 apart. I normally put about half a batch per tray. Now they're going to go into the preheated oven that's been set to 190 degrees, that's 170 degrees Celsius on a fan oven, and that's a slightly higher temperature than cookies normally bake at, and the reason for that is you want them to set a little bit quicker so they don't spread and end up thin, but they end up a bit chunkier, and that's kind of the way the cookies are at Mokonuts. So we're going to put those in for about 10 minutes. So about 3/4 of the way through baking, we're going to take the cookies out of the oven and just give them a firm wrap on the work surface, and we just want to help them collapse just a little bit. So once the cookies are baked, we're going to let them cool on the baking tray for about 10 to 15 minutes before transferring to wire wrap to cool completely. And then, once they're cool, we can devour them, because trust me, these are so unbelievably delicious, you will not be able to stop at just one. So they are just the most delicious cookie, really easy to make, and the sesame adds this really nice, interesting, delicious nuttiness that I am obsessed with. As always, if you want the recipe, it's up in the corner, and don't forget to leave me a comment down below of anything you might want me to make in an upcoming episode, and don't forget to give the channel a subscribe and click on that notification bell to find out when my next videos go live. Until next time, I'm going to have a massive cup of coffee and a cookie, because these are so good.